Good morning, everybody. It's a dog in the kennel. Weber on Sports, live from FingerLakes1.com studios here in beautiful downtown Seneca Falls, the town of Seneca Falls, the home of women's rights. Good to have you with us. Hope you had a beautiful weekend. It was a gorgeous weekend. Hope you had a chance to get out and play some golf, do some other things with your families. It's good to have you alongside. You know, I look at this date being the 27th of August as kind of a change of the seasons. Two elements come to mind. Follow me, as Brad Jones would say. First one is the St. Anthony's Festival is coming up this weekend over on Ovid Street here in the town of Seneca Falls. Kind of always signifies the end of summer, and fall is just around the corner. They do a great job, the people putting together that festival. My wife Mary and myself definitely, along with Sandy and Jean Lopez, will be making an appearance or two there. Love that place, love the food. And my good friend Nick Gillette, who people said he would never make it past his high school days as a piano player and a rock star. Well, guess what? He's still playing. Some 50 years he's been playing, and he's still drawing big crowds. So look forward to seeing Nick Gillette coming up this weekend. The other factor, the other timeline that brings to my heart is the closing of Max Drive-In. A week from today, their last day, and of course, you know what that means, don't you? They're putting the stools on top of the tables because it's over for another year at Max Drive-In. Fall is just around the corner. Let's talk about the Yankees. They're, for a game, give Baltimore credit. I rip Baltimore apart all the time, call them a worthless team, and I've been beating up on Billy Tuberville and all you Orioles fans, all four of you. I got to give you credit. Here it is, the end of August, and they're only 4 games behind the Yankees in the loss column, the only column that counts, tied with Tampa Bay. Are the Yankees secure of winning that division? No, but I think they're going to hang on, hopefully. I would admit that some of the purists who follow baseball have been saying right along, and I said it 2 months ago, that 3 members of their pitching staff do give you the scareness. They make you really nervous. Phil Bad News Hughes. What happened to Casanova Nova? He's pitching like a pig. And, of course, Freddie Cia Garcia. When one of those 3 pitchers have a starting assignment for the Yankees, you have to be nervous. You get out the Tylenol or the Advil PM and you start sucking down a couple of them because you never know what they're going to do, and most of the time they don't do spectacular things. You can only count on Kuroda and Sabathia. So that could be a scary point as we go down the stretch with the big 3 who really don't pitch like the big 3, Hughes, Garcia, and Nova. Whatever happened to his game? And as far as the team that I pick on every Monday, today is no exception, the New York Mets. Of course, they played highly powered Houston. If you're following the baseball standings, Houston Astros have lost 88 games to this date. They only play 162. I think they're 40 up, 88 down. You would have thought the Mets won the World Series on Saturday when they defeated, behind R.A. Dickey, final score 3-1. You would have thought the Mets won the World Series. They beat the worst team in baseball at home, and everybody was excited. Even that worthless manager, Terry Collins, who had a big smile on his face, should be ashamed the way that team plays baseball. They've only got 2 legitimate players on the entire roster. And oh, by the way, what is going on with the fan base? I could not believe there was a bunch of people in the stands watching the Mets play the worst team in baseball. You mean to tell me you sit at your dinner table or lunch table and you're having a turkey sandwich, hold the cottage cheese, and you say to your family, let's get in the car and go to the Mets game. Why? What possibly would draw you to watch a Mets game, let alone to see Houston? It blows my mind. A, people got a lot of money. B, people are bored. C, people are stupid. I vote for C. And how about the Dodgers? You say what you want about that new ownership. They paid $2.15 billion to buy that franchise. Magic Johnson, one of the owners, the Hall of Fame basketball player. You got to give the Dodgers credit. They want to win now, baby. They just took on a huge bunch of salaries from the Boston Red Sox. Oh, by the way, put a fork in the Red Sox. They're gone. Bye-bye. Beckett, Crawford, Gonzalez, they took all of their salaries, put it on their payroll. You got to say one thing about the Dodgers. If they don't make it this year, it isn't because they haven't tried, and they're spending millions upon millions of dollars. Where does that put the Red Sox? Well, a notch above the Newark Pilots. They're going to be struggling for quite a while when they get rid of the nucleus of that team. And I don't know if the Red Sox faithful have the patience to wait for another rebuilding scenario. Elsewhere in the world of sports, well, Bartolo Colon is a new member of the Dog Stupid Club. I see he got nailed for a drug violation, performance-enhancing drugs. His level of testosterone was quite high. Guess what, Bartolo? 50-game suspension. See ya in 2013. Oh, by the way, is there some sort of connection between him and Melky Cabrera, both getting the death penalty, 50 games? You might say so. They both were former Yankees. But again, welcome to the H. Weber Stupid Club. Bartolo Colon, you sit up front because you're as dumb as Melky Cabrera. Multi-million-dollar players have to take those stupid drugs. Dog has zero pity for them. As far as I'm concerned, I'd never let him play again if I was the commissioner of baseball. Well, it is a Monday morning, and we have great sponsors to make this show possible. Let's take a break now and hear from our great sponsors that make Weber on Sports possible. We got lots more to talk about. The Augusta National scene, shame on those ladies for accepting membership, and a whole lot more. Stay with us. Welcome back, everybody. Again, thanks to my great sponsors to make this show possible, and thank you for checking the dog out every week here on FingerLakes1.com, your local sports network. And we look forward at FingerLakes1.com to bringing you an increased level of sports activity. Not so sure about football games, but we're looking at a basketball schedule quite nicely, a big-size schedule. We may be broadcasting more details as the months go by. But Jim Senecropi is determined, along with myself and Matt Verkey and a whole bunch of others, Dave Barnick and Brendan Harrington, we hope. And, of course, don't forget the cameraman, our ace man, Jeremy Hunt. So stay tuned for more developments as we increase the world of sports here at FingerLakes1.com. Well, the Barclays Golf Tournament being played at Old Bethpage, the Black Course. Nick Watney, who's absolutely played terrible this year, fine young player, got a beautiful swing, hits the ball a country mile. He finally got it working. He got the right portion of magic, and he played spectacular. Yeah, he three-jacked a bunch of greens, but most of them did. But he wins by 3 over Snedeker and followed by Sergio Garcia. So Watney puts his name in consideration, at least, for a possible pick by Davis Love III for the American Ryder Cup team. So Brad Jones should be smiling this morning as Brad has Nick Watney in the Fantasy Golf Club, and all of a sudden Brad is thinking to himself, ka-ching, ka-ching, ka-ching. Well, the Champions Tournament style, the seniors over 50 were playing out in Washington this past weekend, the Boeing Tournament, and there was history in the making going to the third and final round. Tom Jenkins, age 64, if you're keeping track, that's 3 years younger than the dog, had a chance, if he could hang on to win, to be the oldest player on the senior tour to ever win a tournament. Poor Tom Jenkins got the Vijay Singh disease, and he gagged it on the final day, shooting a 78. Never a factor, +6, see ya. But I'll tell you one thing you're not going to see ya. How about the Ladies Professional Golf Association? How about a young lady, let me get her name correct, Lydia Cole, an amateur from Whereouts, South Korea, 15 years old. The youngest golfer ever to win on the Ladies Professional Golf Association in the history of the LPGA. 15. Good news is she's an amateur. Good news is she has a great career. Bad news is, as Jim and myself talked about before the show, if she'd have told her agent to make her a pro this weekend, she would have collected $300,000, or as they say, 300 large, 300 grand she left on the table because amateurs cannot accept cash. Oh, my Lordy. I hope her family's got a lot of money because she just left $300,000 sit there. And, oh, by the way, it went to the second place finisher, who escapes me right now. But, hey, $300,000. That's a lot of cash. Well, you know, I always get caught up in certain things that really excite me about the amazing things that athletes can do. Staying with the world of golf, I had a chance at a local banquet a few years ago to meet Jim Roy. Jim Roy is a celebrated player out of Central New York, plays a lot of golf, wins a lot of tournaments. He qualified for the Champions Tour and was exempt one year. He's lost his exempt status, so he has to Monday qualify when he decides to play out there. But Jim Roy is a sensational Central New York golfer, and he's a member of the Bellevue Country Club, a very fine golf course. I haven't played that course in years, and I can hardly remember the layout of the holes. But Jim Roy did something the other day that blew my mind away. They talked about it. He hit a pitching wedge or a 9-iron into the 17th green, a par 3 of a $159. It hit the front of the green, rolled up, bang, for a hole-in-one. Otherwise, on a hole-in-one, that would be an eagle on a par 3. Why is that significant? Why is Weber talking about Jim Roy making a hole-in-one? He's made a few others in his career. Well, here's the startling fact. That hole-in-one on number 7, follow me now, made him the only player, God forsake, I got to think, in the country to achieve this. On that golf course, that eagle provided him with the ability to say he has eagled every hole at Bellevue. Every hole. There's 18 holes. That was the only one he had not eagled. Now that is complete. Think about that. Think about how amazing that is. Eagling every hole on the layout. Scary or what? Jim Roy. Awesome. NASCAR Bristol on Saturday night, they were bumping and banging. Oh, Teddy Flock and Dickie Marshall, a couple of tears. Get the handkerchiefs ready for those guys. Danica gets spun out. Oh, by the 78 car. Crash, bam, boom. A picture of her car, by the way, is on the back page of the D&C this morning, so check it out. It's worth saving for a collector's item. She finishes a measly 29th. Denny Hamlin, the winner. Oh, there were some tempers flaring. Tony Stewart threw his helmet at Matt Kenseth's car. Kenseth spun out Stewart. Stewart, in reply, said, I'm going to run over that guy the rest of the year if I get a chance. Stay tuned for more exciting NASCAR competition. And by the way, Condoleezza Rice and Marla Moore just accepted applications to be the first female members at Augusta National Golf Club. I have had the opportunity way back in the late 70s to go to Augusta. My brother lives 5 minutes from the front gate of Augusta National. I covered it for WSFW Radio. Outstanding, greatest thrill of my life. Greatest golf course you'd ever want to see. Greatest TV coverage, limited commercials, what are they, a minute and a half every hour? Wouldn't you love to see that every week? But I got to tell you something, folks. We're talking about the South. Those old crotchety, cigar, pipe-smoking, male-chauvinist southern pigs have barred women for 80 years. Let me repeat that number. 80 years. They have scorned them. They have vilified ladies. They consider ladies to be some sort of disease. All of a sudden, they make a decision after 80 long years to invite Marla Moore, a business executive from South Carolina, and you need not be introduced to Condoleezza Rice, formerly Secretary of State, a brilliant woman, graduate of Stanford, teaches out there, an outstanding person. They jumped at the chance to fill out the membership application. Come on, folks. The town of Seneca Falls, the home of women's rights, have 3 words. Shame on you. I would have thought more of Condoleezza Rice and Marla Moore if they stood up and said, take those applications and shove it where the sun don't shine. But they didn't do that. Shame on those ladies for accepting membership when the ladies of the world have been scorned for 80 years. I'm sorry. And how about that poor Martha Burke? Remember her several years ago? She was protesting because no women were members. She was vilified. She was scorned. She was just beaten to a pulp. Where do they put her for her demonstration? 6 miles down the road from Augusta National, an area as big as where I'm broadcasting my show from this morning. Give me a break. Women, I'm embarrassed by that decision for them to accept membership. They should have told them to catch a bus or use the Weber line. There's a bus leaving in 20. Be under it. Shame on Condoleezza Rice and Marla Moore for acting the way I would hope they would never have done it. Never accept membership to those male chauvinist pigs. And oh, by the way, liar, liar, pants on fire. Lance Armstrong, I'm sorry. Winner of 7 Tour de France's. Give me a break, Lance. I love this guy. I'm not a big cycling fan, but when he was winning year after year after year, I watched it, believe it or not. Going through the mountains, the Swiss Alps. I was excited as a sports fan. Way to go. Remember this? 7. Now, They claim he doped himself up. They claimed he took illegal drugs. They have taken back the 7 titles. They're going to get the cash back, the trophies back, the notoriety back. You know what Lance says? I don't like the system, so I'm not going to fight him. What? If I or Jim Senecropi or Kenny Haas got picked up for burglary or murder or rape, and if we thought we were innocent, you know what we'd do? We'd fight it. Lance Armstrong, by not fighting it, tells me one thing. Guilty. He's guilty. Why do you not fight it if you don't think you did anything wrong? To just lay over and say he didn't like the system. Oh, by the way, the courts have ruled they can put that system into place. Give me a break. The guy is a thief, and he's guilty of doping himself up. And I'm sorry that I wasted my time all those years later, way back when I used to watch Lance Armstrong up in front, cycling his butt off to no avail because he cheated. Well, you know something, it's SU football time. And you know, we talk about SU football because Jim's a graduate. I'm not a big fan of the football program. And by the way, speaking of SU, maybe you missed the stat. They were tracking the most successful basketball programs in the last 50 years. Syracuse, to their credit, ranked 8th. Pretty impressive stat. So say what you want. SU basketball, they have a phenomenal record, phenomenal ability to draw the greatest athletes around the world, and they will continue to do so because they play at the Dome. But back to football. Let's play football starting Saturday. The 2012 season will get underway noontime on local cable. SU entertains Northwestern. A lot of people don't think SU is going to do much under the librarian Marone. I think it's time you got to start doing something. Jim brings up a good point. The schedule's not an easy one. I somehow feel they're going to win 7. I don't know where I got that number from. But I got to tell you something, folks. What really irritates me about SU football, and I know I hammer you folks about this all the time, is that athletic director, who I think is worthless, Dr. Darryl Gross, coming to the area when he landed a job at SU, for SU as their AD, telling the world that he felt that he could compete in the Big East in a couple of years. He's been there 8. 8 years he's been athletic director at Syracuse. Not 1, not 2, but 7 or 8 he's been around that campus. What has the football program shown you in that last 7 or 8 years? Nothing. They were 5-2 after the big nationally televised broadcast against West Virginia last year. They lose 5 straight. I know a lot of coaches that would have been fired for collapsing like that. Gross is still the AD, and he says, quote unquote, that Marone has the vision. He's his man. Well, guess what, folks? Al Davis, poor Al's up in heaven, just win, baby. No more talk about prospects and conditioning and bringing the kids to Fort Drum. Hut, hut, hut. Doesn't mean a thing to me. It's time to win. I don't expect you to win 9, 10. I'd be thrilled with 6. I'm calling for 7. But it's about time the SU football program starts putting some W's on the board. And this week, against Northwestern, they're only a 1.5-point underdog. It's time to win because Dr. Dale Gross cannot continue to remind everybody that Doug Marone is his guy without the record reflecting that. Even Dr. Dale Gross has to look in the mirror and wonder, why did I say those stupid things when I arrived at Syracuse, unless that football program is once and for all going to emerge. Nobody, including Jim, wants to continue mediocrity, and that's exactly where they are. They've got to get away from that. Take care, everybody. The Dog and Paulie Show coming up on Wednesday. A couple of new Waterloo guys will be arriving in the studios. Joe Spazzato, my longtime buddy, and Eddie Courtney will be our guest talking about the Waterloo Hall of Fame and their coaching responsibilities. Take care, everybody. As usual, we're heading to the New York State Fair with Sandy and Gene Lopez. We're out of here. That's a look at sports my way.